What's up, guys? Welcome to Dynasty Drip today. Getting in with another video today. We're going to do some overvalued players and what I would trade them for. I'm going to bring up some real world trades from Dynasty Data Labs. I searched through their database of sleeper dynasty trades, and these are being pulled from real leagues. And I pulled 2, 3, or 4 trades for each of the 5 players I'm going to talk about today to show you the type of trade I would be looking to make when I'm talking about selling these overvalued players. Thank you for coming to the channel. If you haven't been here before and you enjoy what you see, give me 30 days to make your dynasty team better. Please hit subscribe if you learned something from this video. But we're going to kick it off with someone who was super, super high ranked last offseason, arguably almost going as the QB1. But I'm going to talk about CJ Stroud today as someone who I think is just a little overrated right now. So CJ Stroud on KTC, he's kind of in that low-end quarterback 1 range. I think the last time I checked, he was going around quarterback 11. I think most people have him in that sort of dynasty tier, whether it's, 8 through 13 in their dynasty rankings. But for me, when looking at some of these trades that you were getting with CJ Stroud, I just think there's some things we could be doing with Stroud to improve our team, whether it's a lateral move to someone I view as a better, safer asset, whether it's a down tier or an up tier. For me, I do like CJ Stroud, and I don't want to say I have him at like quarterback 20 or something. I think just for me, it really comes down to the build of your team. If you are looking for a safe floor quarterback 2 for your dynasty team, I totally get it. But I think the direction the Texans are going in may be a little more run heavy, having Joe Mixon, bringing in Nick Chubb, bringing in a different offensive coordinator. And for me, I just don't know if CJ Stroud really possesses that top 5 upside that I think you really should be chasing from your dynasty quarterback 1. So let's pull up the first trade I want to talk about. So this is going to be a lateral trade. So to me, the picks, whatever, 4ths and 3rds, I don't really care. But for me, I prefer Justin Herbert to CJ Stroud. I think if you're going to go for a safe asset, Justin Herbert is safer. He's a little bigger. I think he's shown more throughout his NFL career. I think he runs a tiny bit more. And I just think there's a little more upside for Justin Herbert. Herbert is really held back more by his perceived system. We'll see what happens in the coming years. But for me, if you're going to go a lateral move, I like going after Justin Herbert there. Next trade, this is going to be an up tier. I think if you could up tier into someone like Hurts or Burrow by adding a first-round pick to CJ Stroud, I think that's a perfect up tier pay up if you're trying to really upgrade your quarterback 1 position. And that's what I'm talking about. If you have CJ Stroud and he's your quarterback 1, I think you need to be up tiering from him, doing a lateral move for Justin Herbert. Here's another trade we're going to talk about. This would be a down tier. If you can get Bryce Young in 2 firsts for CJ Stroud, I mean, I'm not going to promise you can get this. I found this in the trade browser here. If you can get 2 firsts of Bryce Young, that's a smash down tier. And then we're going to go with our last one. This is probably a more realistic down tier. Can we down tier to Trevor Lawrence in a pretty far away future first, but still something that's going to grow in value, and that's what I'm looking for. I don't really know how many points per game Stroud is going to outscore Lawrence for the next couple years, right? So if we can get that first-round pick on top, I think that's a good trade for your team, and I think it will show dividends moving forward just while you're building out your roster. Next player, wide receiver. Now, this is a guy I like, and I do think he deserves to have risen up the ranks some since last year. But every time I go check consensus ranks or KTC or ADP or anything you want to call it, Jameson Williams is just too high in those ranks for me, especially seeing as he's going to be splitting time with Amon-Ra. He has to compete with Sam Laporta. He has to compete with Gibbs and Montgomery. They just traded up for another speedster in the 3rd round and Isaac Tesla. Not that he's going to take Jameson Williams' role, but there's a lot of pieces here. And to pay off at that price for Jameson Williams, it's a hefty price. And I just don't think it's really worth it. I'm going to go over some trades here that I think you could get for Jameson Williams that I like, and I'm going to explain why. This would be a contender trade if you're looking for a tight end, right? George Kittle, he's going to help your contending team much more than Jameson Williams' boom bust ability at your wide receiver 2, 3 slot would be, which is where Jameson Williams is being ranked right now. A wide receiver 2, now a late wide receiver 2, but he's up there in the ranks. Next trade here for Jameson Williams. If we're going to down tier from Williams, if I can get a 27 first and Ricky Pearsall, I love that trade. I think Pearsall has a chance to outscore Jameson Williams this year. Now, I understand I would take Jameson Williams before Ricky Pearsall, and that's not what this advice is. But what I'm saying is this is a pretty safe down tier to add a first-round pick, which is almost a fair trade for Jameson to me. So the fact that you're getting a late pick and Ricky Pearsall on top of that for Jameson Williams, it's a great move to make. And then this would be an up tier. Can I trade Trey Benson and Jameson Williams to go get Rashee Rice? Now, I think most people would say this probably couldn't happen, but the thing is, let's check on KTC, right? Rashee Rice is like wide receiver 17, 18. Jameson Williams like wide receiver 23. So adding Trey Benson, where to me it's a smash accept for the Rashee Rice side, some people may take this trade if they are valuing Jameson Williams that highly. So just before we go on to the next player, if you guys haven't checked it out, we have a Discord below. We've been doing a lot of fun trade talks in there. Great place to meet some people. Make sure to hop in. It's totally free to hop in. Best way to get in touch with me. Next player, we're only going to do 2 trades for this next player because I don't think he's as overrated necessarily. I just think personally it's a good time to move off this guy, and that's going to be Brian Robinson. None of his analytics from last year were really eye-catching to me. He basically produced when he got touches, which is the sign of a good NFL running back, but it's not the sign of a great NFL running back. So I think if you don't move off Brian Robinson right now, he's going to get replaced, and he's basically going to lose all of his value. Here's a couple trades I would do with Brian Robinson. This is on the high side. I would not expect to get this done, but I think for me, the fact that a trade like this is possible shows in some leagues, Brian Robinson is being held at an overvalued price, which is why I'm bringing up this trade. Now, this probably is a little more realistic. Courtland Sutton and a second for Brian Robinson and a fourth. I like this. I think for me, Brian Robinson is about worth a second anyway. So the fact that I can pivot to Courtland Sutton, who's a great contending asset, on top of that 2026 second makes this a great trade to move Robinson. Now, before we go into the next trade, just keep in mind, guys, I understand this trade may not happen in your league, but I think what I'm trying to show you is that some of these players are being overvalued if you own them, and it may be good to not try to sell low on these guys, but just to see what the price is. You know, sometimes it's worth shopping some of your assets that are rising in the ranks if you kind of believe it's a little too high for where they probably will be at the end of the upcoming season. And I think there's really no one that personifies that more than Caleb Williams for me. Now, Caleb Williams is a great talent. He's all the way up at kind of QB 8, 9, 10 on KTC. And I understand how in the high sense, I totally think Caleb Williams could be ranked here at the beginning of next season. You know, I don't think he's really going to pass those top 5 players unless he finishes like how Jaden Daniels did last year and he just has some like monster year. But Caleb Williams is being valued at what is him hitting this year. And I don't really know if the floor or the downside of Caleb Williams not reaching that is truthfully being baked into his price. He got new weapons. He got a new coach. I get it. I would be excited too. But I would consider shopping him if you can make some of these trades I'm going to bring up happen in your league. First one I want to talk about, Caleb Williams and Zay Flowers for Lamar Jackson. Use the hype of Caleb Williams to tier up into Lamar Jackson by giving up a wide receiver I like. I like Zay Flowers. I'm about on consensus with him. But if you have access to a Lamar Jackson, that's what I'm talking about with Caleb Williams here. Is he reaching this kind of hype thing where people are playing this game and they're being like, I'm going to be the highest on Caleb Williams this year? We have players like that every offseason in redraft, in Dynasty, that they start to rise up and it kind of becomes a competition to see who can put this player the highest in their ranks or who can take them the highest in their startup draft. Jaden Daniels in a first for Caleb Warren, a second and a first. This trade is absolutely crazy. If you can do anything like this, this is another tier up. The fact that you're getting a first in here too, to me, is absolutely crazy. Jaden Daniels is a top 3 quarterback. He has shown he can finish that. The second half last year, after his injury and before his injury, he was basically a top 5 quarterback. He's super young. Caleb Williams has not shown he can be a top 5 quarterback yet he's kind of being valued similarly, right? So this is another Justin Herbert one. If you guys can't tell, I love Justin Herbert. I think if you're looking for a safe quarterback for your team that's going to be around for the next 10 years, Justin Herbert is this. Justin Herbert for Caleb Williams, kind of a swap. I understand how you could be on either side of that, but Joe Mixon for a second makes me side with the Herbert side here. If you are looking for a running back and you want to play more of a safer kind of lateral move, I would do something like this. And the last one, another up tier. If you guys can't tell, that's what I'm wanting to do with Caleb Williams. Use the hype of Caleb Williams. Throw a first-round pick and Jalen McMillan on top here to go get Joe Burrow, a top 5 quarterback, a tier that most likely Caleb Williams is not going to break into, which is why I'm trying to make these trades. And the last player I want to talk about, before I bring up his name, I understand if you are a true contender, you may not want to trade this player. But for the exercise of this video, it's kind of like a price check. And what I'm trying to tell you guys is at times you need to play the league a little smarter. And sometimes if people are valuing players just higher than they deserve to be rated, it's okay to trade them and then just use that capital to pivot into something else. The guy I'm going to be talking about last is Terry McLaurin. Now, Terry McLaurin had an amazing year last year, 13 touchdowns, well above his career average, right? And even if he can get to 7 or 8 touchdowns, which I think is very doable because Jaden Daniels is an absolute stud, I don't really think Terry McLaurin can get any higher in the ranks. And he's going to hit 30. And even though I don't think he's going to fall off a cliff, the dynasty market will believe Terry McLaurin is going to fall off a cliff now that he's 30 years old. So if you want to play the market and play smart, you need to get ahead of it. Here's a couple trades I would do with Terry McLaurin. First off, one of my favorite wide receivers to target this offseason, Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison in a second for Terry McLaurin. I would do this if I was a contender. I like getting a higher pick. And for me, I just have Jordan Addison as a higher rated asset than Terry McLaurin. I wouldn't be surprised to see them finish a little closer than you would think at the end of the season. I would still pick McLaurin first in a redraft league, which is why I'm saying if you are a true contender and you have to hold Terry McLaurin because you need that upside, I get it, but I do think it's okay to play the market in this instance. The next trade we're going to go over, Terry McLaurin, Aaron Jones in a second for Rashee Rice in a third. I don't even need the third, man. If I could tier up into Rashee Rice with Terry McLaurin, Aaron Jones in a second, I would do that every day. I think Rashee Rice is going to absolutely smash this year, and I want to be all over him. And the last trade of the show, this is kind of a down tier, but also an up tier for contender. What I mean is, if I'm a contender, I personally could care less if I have McLaurin or Adams. I think they're pretty similar contending assets. I think you could even argue Adams has upside just as high as Terry McLaurin. So if I'm getting the first just for this small value drop from McLaurin to Adams and giving up Otton in a third, which I don't really care about, those are very supplementary assets. I never worry about giving up those assets in a trade. I think that's a great trade and it would definitely be worth your while. Thank you guys for tuning into this video. If you learned something, please hit subscribe, like the video. Large portion of you guys that are watching very frequently, but you aren't subscribed. I'm trying to get up to 1,000 subscribers before the NFL season. We're in the 800s, so we were getting close. We are rising up, but I need your guys' help. If you have any trade questions, join the Discord. Hit me up there or drop it in the comments. But thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll catch you later on Dynasty Drift.